Murders in a minute, tears lasting a lifetime. But don't nobody care until it's their time. Sitting in the front row of that church saying goodbye to a loved one. Wishing they could go back and do the things that they should have done.
Hello everyone, this is the first episode for We All Bleed. Myself and my husband, Kris Coleman, have came together to host a show featuring people from all different backgrounds to talk about what's really going on in this world. I feel like it's time to talk to each other, so let's talk. Kris, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are.
Well, my name is Kris Coleman. I am a Brookhaven, Mississippi native. For those who don't know me, I am a former United States Marine, and I'm also a former Brookhaven police officer. And I am a youth football coach, and right now I am working at a rehabilitation center as a mentor.
Awesome. So, like I said, Kris is co-hosting with me. We're in different rooms. We're just experiencing a whole Zoom platform. Everyone on the show is in different areas. So I'm gonna go to Darion right now, and he's one of the first guests on the show. So Darion, I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Darion Smith. I'm also from Brookhaven, Mississippi. That seems to be a trend here. I am a former football player. I'm 30 years old. I graduated in 2008. I played football at UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham, offensive lineman. I played in Canada for a couple months, got hurt. I met my beautiful wife, Shaniqua Smith, the girl in the pink there with the braids. I met her at UAB. She was the mascot. We clicked. She fell in love with me. That sometime down the line, I fell in love with her. But that's another story.
She flirted with you a little bit.
Yeah, she had to flirt with me. I'm like,
That's how it works.
If that's what helps you sleep at night.
But yeah, so that's just a little bit about me. We have 3 beautiful girls together. Well, we have 2 together, and I have 3 that I had in a previous relationship. I have my oldest is from a previous relationship. So, but there, she treats them. That's her daughter as well. So, yeah, it's a lot. I can kind of tend to go on because I can talk about so much, but that's the base.
Well, I'm gonna give your wife the opportunity to showcase herself. Shaniqua, unmute yourself, introduce yourself to everyone on the show watching you right now. Let me see. Yeah, you're on right now.
Hey everyone, I'm Shaniqua Smith. I'm Darion's wife. Like you said, we have 3 beautiful little girls, 9, 5, and 2. And I went to UAB as well. I'm not from Brookhaven, not from Mississippi at all. My parents were military. They were both in the Army. So we moved and traveled a lot. But I went to UAB in Birmingham, and that's where we met. And we still reside there, and I'm a social worker. I work with HIV-positive clients, and we help provide them resources.
All right. And last but not least, Mr. Sam and Mrs. Brittany, the Songs. I want y'all to introduce yourself to the audience.
Take it away, man.
I'm Brittany. I am currently a stay-at-home mom to 4 adorable kids. 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 7-month-old. 2 boys. The oldest are boys and the youngest are girls. And this is Sam.
That's right. We got married in 2011, so we've been married almost 10 years. And I work for Farm Bureau, and I've been doing that about 12 years. Love it. But like Darion, you said, born and raised Brookhaven, graduated Brookhaven High School. So, man, me and you got a lot in common there. Or y'all too. But happy to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. So y'all, like I said, first of all, thank y'all all for being on the show today. I just want to have a conversation. I want to have a conversation that I feel like maybe it has, people are having it, but we need to have more of, and it's the color of our skin. So the reason I named it We All Bleed is to well, really, my husband named it. I was going to say we all bleed the same color. And Kris was like, keep it short. We all bleed. But the reason I named it We All Bleed is because we do. We all bleed. We all bleed the same color. And no matter what background we have, no matter what color of our skin is, we still at the end of the day bleed the same color blood. And I feel like that connects us in some type of way. And I wanted to show to showcase that. So I kind of want to start it off with the fact that we have so much in common. Like, we're all married. We all have children or a child. With me and Kris, we're just on child number 1 right now. But before we started recording, we were all vibing with each other. We were all getting a chance to know each other. But for me, if you look on social media, a lot of people aren't doing this. A lot of people going against each other. It's a lot of people talking about a lot of things that are going on. And I don't want to ignore it. I want to shed light to it. But I'm grateful that we are mature enough to sit down and get to know each other still, even in today's time. So I kind of want to start the conversation off. I'm going to unpin my video to whoever feels led to speak. But I want to start off by just asking, how are y'all feeling right now, knowing about all the injustice that is going on? Like, how are y'all feeling right now? And I'll let someone who feels like taking the spotlight to share how they feel.
Yeah, I don't mind speaking on it. How do I feel? Of course, you know, the initial emotion is anger, but a lot of things are just being revealed. It's been going on, and I think that's one thing that we're trying to push in the message in the movement is this isn't anything new. It's just, you know, with technology, we're able to record a lot of things, and even with the visual, even when people can see the visual, they still try to explain it away sometimes. But yeah, those feelings of, you don't even feel shocked anymore. You know, it's kind of just you still feel the anger, but you don't feel shock. I know I'm speaking for myself, so and you feel sadness. Sometimes you feel as if things won't change. Like, it beats you down into thinking that this is just how it is because it's woven into the fabric of this nation, you know. So yeah, that's how I felt about it.
Okay.
I'll speak. I think with the recent events happening, it's been very overwhelming. Like, in the past when it's happened, it's like it's been tough, but it's kind of like so much going on, so it's easy to move on to the next thing, so to say. And I know that sounds very bad, but I don't know if it's with age now, or if it's the fact that we don't have anything else going on, no distractions, or if it's the fact that we, like me and my husband, we just moved a year ago, and we're the only African American family out there in our neighborhood. So I don't know if it's a mixture of everything or what it is. And I didn't grow up around racism at all, so I didn't have my first encounter until I went to undergrad to UAB, and we were actually leaving. Me and my mom were leaving a gas station, and somebody yelled out "nigger," and I was very shocked. I laughed because I was like, "This has to be like the '60s or something," because I was never around it, being a military brat. But the older I've gotten, the more like now it's starting to hit home. Like, every time it happens, every time an event has happened this year, I've grieved as if it was like my husband or my dad or my brother. So I don't know. It's just hit me a lot deeper lately, so that's mine.
I got you. And I thought I was gonna be the only one that was in that category, Shaniqua. I haven't experienced a lot of racism, and I was telling my husband, I was like, I don't know if I'm blind to it or if I just haven't experienced it, but I've had a lot of people from different races do a lot of good for me. To love on me. I have a lady who's white that I call my mama, and she's not my blood mama, but she treats me just like a daughter, and I don't look at her any other way but that's my mama. So when I see all the things going on in this world, I'm like, oh my God, like the fact that this is still going on in 2020. And then I was sharing with Brittany the other day, I was like, dang, like Brittany's my friend, and I hate to say my white friend, but she is white. She's my white friend, and I was like, Brittany, we need to get on a show together and we need to talk. Because even though I can't say that I know how it feels to be put down on and to feel lower than the earth. But I have a co-host, even though I haven't experienced it just firsthand or really recognized it, I have a co-host who have. So before I really go into the conversation deeper, I kind of want my co-host to share what he's experienced and how he's feeling.
Well, to piggyback off what Darion said, the first initial reaction is anger. But for me, as someone who, as being a black man who has not only been handcuffed, but has carried handcuffs and has handcuffed other black men, my initial reaction is I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in that the only thing we see is the melanin in our skin. The only thing we see is a color. One of the main things I learned by being in the military is we don't see no color. The only color we see is that camouflage that we wear, and I went to battle with white men, with Mexicans, with Indians, with, any color that you could think of. We all went to battle together. And that's the only thing that matters. And I feel like in this world today, we're getting so wrapped up in colors that we're forgetting how to be humans. At the end of the day, we're humans. I have cousins that are mixed, and I don't see them as my white cousins. I see them as my family. And I feel like if we get more into just seeing human, this world will start being a better place.
That's a good point.
I got you. Sam and Brittany, do y'all want to come in? I got the camera on y'all. It just automatically went to you.
Trying to get my. Hold on. Y'all still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, sorry. We clicked off for a minute. The first thing, when Brittany and I talk about this, and for the last 2 weeks, we probably spend a lot of time each day talking about this situation and just kind of the generalities of it. And, I told her even earlier today, I feel really strongly in 2 ways. First of all, I feel like as far as we're concerned, it's a time where we really need to sit back, being white, and for us to be dismissive at all, even times when we might want to be. I feel like that would be a really bad idea right now. Not to be politically correct, because I'm probably the least politically correct person there is out there, and I don't think you are either, naturally. But not for those reasons, but just from an empathy standpoint, I think it's important for us to listen. I think that's why this conversation is important. I think that's first and foremost, because the truth is we're not in an African American person's shoes. We're white, and that's not to draw attention to our color or your color or anything like that. But I do think it's important for us that it's a time where we need to listen more than usual. We always need to. But the second thing is, and this probably, Rosie's trying to get our cord here. This probably goes against our, this probably goes against. It's more important. It's more important in my opinion. This is my personal opinion about it. I think Brittany and I share it, but I'll let you share how you feel. But the other thing for me is I feel like there's a lot of mass movement going on, mainly engineered by social media, and which you kind of already touched on. That really, it's like it. I think the intentions are really good with a lot of it, but we're sitting outside. Sorry, y'all. But I think that in a lot of ways, some of the good intentions of what's going on and what's being put out there in mass on social media, especially, and in the media period, on both sides, I think even if the intentions are good, it's doing nothing but drawing more attention to, hey, I'm white, and hey, you're black. And it almost in a certain way defeats the purpose, and it prevents there from being common ground. It prevents these kind of conversations, because to me, like, this conversation is how you fight racism. It's how you draw attention away from color. It's meeting in the middle. It's, and both parties have to be ready to engage in that conversation, obviously, especially from our side. You know, but I feel like the grassroots part of it, that community's part of it, the local part of it, that's where this issue can that's where the real battlefront, to where to me, the advances can be made on the fight against racism, is on this front, this individual kind of grassroots front. And, you know, I know I can speak on behalf of both of us when I say this. I mean, like, we were as outraged as anybody seeing that video. Like, I've never even seen half of that Floyd video, because it makes me just so angry when I watch it. But, you know, and to be honest with you, I don't know anybody who it doesn't outrage, to be honest. Like, so I think that there's a serious issue when it comes to those types of police officers, you know, and there's bad apples out there, no doubt about it. But main point being, I think our position needs to be a position of listening and empathy first and foremost. That needs to be our first method of engaging. And then, to me, the battlefront is really on the community and the grassroots level. Like, I feel like these conversations, these personal conversations, you know, amongst friends and amongst people, you know, and locally on a grassroots level is where it's really going to be solved. And that's my opinion about it. Because some of the mass movement, I feel like, can just defeat the purpose sometimes, you know. So, but what about you, Brett?
I understand.
I totally agree. I think conversations being had are a great way for us to start, and just bridging the gap as much as we can. I think that racism has been around for forever, not just black, white. I mean, go to the Bible and Jesus. When I think of racism in the Bible, I'm always reminded of the story of the Samaritan woman. And Jesus was with his friends, and they weren't even going to walk through Samaria because they didn't want to associate with the Samaritans. And Jesus just let them go and do what they did. And what did Jesus do? He walked through there. He walked through Samaria. He went and he engaged with the Samaritan woman. And I think what we can do is just don't stay in our little cultural bubbles. And, you know, I think we've got to just engage with people who are different than us and form more friendships like that.
I agree on that. I feel like even right now, the fact that we all agreed to have a conversation with each other, like, I gave everybody the basis. I was like, okay, Brittany and Sam, Darion and Shaniqua black, you know, Shaniqua and Darion, Brittany and Sam is white. I did it on purpose. I wanted us to be of different races. I wanted us to sit down and talk to each other. And I feel like us starting the conversation of even that is something that I'm not gonna say nobody, but not enough of us are doing. So I remember saying in the beginning, we all have common grounds. We have a lot of things in common, being parents and things of that nature. And when I think of us as being married couples in this world, being parents, I think of, what do we want to teach our children? What do we want to show them? Like, I've seen KO go up to, you know, anybody play with and engage with. They don't see color. I feel like racism isn't something you're born with, it's taught. You know, people are teaching the racism and things of that nature. But I want y'all to come in on that as well. So I'm gonna give it to you, Kris, and then I'm gonna let the conversation continue.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Racism is something that is instilled in, you know, in people. And I mean, I could be the only one who feel this way, but I feel like, you know, racism, you know, it's never gonna leave. I mean, you got to think about it. It ain't just with colors. I mean, prejudice exists everywhere. You know, I mean, you know, there are blacks who don't like Mexicans. I mean, there are, you know, then, you know, people who don't like gays and stuff like that. I mean, there's always going to be hatred in this world. But I feel like the more we come together, we have to learn how to, like I said, to piggyback off of, I've been a police officer and I've worked with officers who ain't too fond of black people. But I had to learn how to coexist, because at the end of the day, I had a job to do. And I wasn't doing that job to impress anyone. I was doing that job to serve and protect my community. And one of the things speaking from me and Darion's standpoint as being African American men, we have to uplift each other more. We have to try to engage and try to help each other. Want to be police officers, want to be lawyers, want to be judges and stuff like that. Because my first week as a police officer was like the worst week of my life, because every black person that knew me from school looked at me like I was like the devil. And it was like, they was like, I can't believe you. Why are you on their side? Why are you, putting that uniform on? And I'm like, I'm here to serve and protect Brookhaven, not just the white people in Brookhaven, not just the black people in Brookhaven. I'm here to serve and protect my community because I love everybody in this community. And I feel like if we come together more and we learn how to engage with the police officers, because right now police officers are looked at like they're the new Ku Klux Klan. I mean, we just got to be honest. That's how they're viewed now. I've worked with a lot of great police officers, a lot of great police officers who care dearly for this community. But it's the lot, like Sam said earlier, it's the bad apples that are giving all the rest of the police officers a bad name, which in return is the exact same thing that is happening to the African American community. It's the bad apples that are giving all the rest of black men a bad name because we're seen as thugs, we're seen as violent, but we're not all like that. So it's stuff like this, sitting down and having a conversation and being able to understand each other's standpoint, because we will never know what it feels like to be white, just like Sam and Brittany will never know what it feels like to be black. And we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to know what it feels like to be each other. The only thing we need to learn is to have empathy for each other and to understand each other. And like I said, learn to coexist in this world.
I feel led to ask you to piggyback on that, Darren, like to kind of add to what he was saying about being a black man.
Was it for me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
being a black man.
yeah. So yeah. So I was ready to jump in on it. I think it can get a lot more complicated. I think it's a lot deeper. I think it goes all the way back to the root and on how this nation was built and how a lot of those problems and those issues were never ever dealt with. It was just always just glossed over year by year. And slavery ended, but then it was oppression. We can go into I think we all know the history, but we know the history now. But even I remember, I think back and I think about school, and it's just everything was so glorified about the U.S. Everything, and maybe in Black History Month, maybe we had, they showed Dr. King getting sprayed by hoses, or you'll have little tidbits. You learn about Harriet Tubman, and you learn about certain people here and there, but it was very watered down. So the education of it all did not shed the light on the brutality and the continued brutality of everything. So if it would take a whole nother episode, but I feel like a lot of conditions were cultivated from that. If you don't deal with trauma, it's not gonna do anything but get worse. And I believe that in turn, all of the continued oppression just a lot in the Black community, we got caught up in a vicious cycle. And right now, I know a lot of guys that are in that vicious cycle. I know a lot of families, because of laws, because of prejudices, and if you continue to put somebody in a bad position, you put them in a position where they can't really advance, and the opportunity is low, and everything is stacked against you. I feel like things will start going left. I feel like a lot of in a lot of our communities, we all know people. You drive through those communities. Find this real quick, but yeah. it has gotten very ugly on a lot of people I know because of that cycle, and it's hard to break. It's hard to break. So I feel like a lot of that is glossed over and it's not talked about enough, and that's something that's not understood. I just gave a light version of it, but and I know it's some success stories. I know it's some people that quote unquote come out the hood and they not like that, right? But for every good person, I can show you two people. We react to things differently. Just because it worked for me, as things worked out for me, doesn't mean it's going to work out for this same young man. I got lucky on a lot of breaks to where I could be viewed as that thug, but things just happened to turn out. I got a better draw. I had a good mom. I know I can go into a lot with that, but just our family system a lot it's a lot that's been messed up because of those sins from a long time ago were never ever dealt with, and it's gonna manifest. I feel like a lot of it is just coming ahead today, But I'm thankful for people like the songs who are willing to have this conversation and are willing to listen and try to get another perspective. I feel like without the perspectives, we won't be able to really grow. So yeah, I'm trying not to make sure I don't ramble on too much. But yeah, I'm just leave it at that right there.
No, I feel like these conversations are extremely important too. I mean, the hardest part to see, especially like with this resulting situation, is things that reduce conversations. And like personally, that's been one of the most difficult things to watch. And all you got to do is just scroll down a news feed on Facebook, and I mean, if you read a thread, I mean, heck, I was even I was on Bleacher Report. I know you know what that is, Darion. And I was just reading sports articles. And I mean, I was on that to read about sports, just like you would get on there to read about sports. And I mean, I'm just reading the comments one after the other on that. I'm thinking, man, like, how do we, and it was just two sides just completely tearing each other apart. And I think, Brittany, I love your point because, when you think about, you always want to go and try to be the example that Jesus had. And when I think about that, and I think about, classes like the Samaritans, people like that, which is kind of an example of this back then. And, I want to look to his approach. I want to look to how he viewed, others, which
That weren't like him.
Yeah, that weren't like him, basically, or that society deemed a certain way, and I think that's such an important thing to say, because I feel like you want to be at peace with all men, man, go to Jesus' example and look exactly what he did with the woman at the well. Look exactly at how he approached it. But
I just think forming relationships with people different than you are so important, and teaching your kids to do that. And so if I have a lot of friends that don't look just like me, or maybe don't have their lives don't look exactly like mine, then my kids are going to grow up and feel comfortable with people that aren't just like them or don't look just like them. You know what I mean? And so I think the way that we show our kids to look at everybody the same is we are around everybody that's different than us, not just people that are the same as us.
An example is the most powerful demonstration of these things to your kids.
And kids, you're so right. Kids just, they don't see color. They really don't. And so if they just see us having all kinds of types of friends, then they're going to do it too.
Our son, Sammy, he's 8. Today he asked me and Brittany, we were all watching TV, and this is like today, literally. And he said, Dad, Mom, what color will we be when we get to heaven? And I said, or both of us said, or one of us said, Sammy, you're not going to be a color when you get to heaven. But we shouldn't look at, what color someone is here, but when you get to heaven, that's not going to enter your mind. Along with, there won't be time and lots of other things that we can't understand, but and so that kind of put it into perspective, like how we should live here, like, because one day And as followers of Christ, when we get to heaven, that's not how we're going to look at things, So, that's almost an example in and of itself.
I got
Right, right.
Shaniqua, you got anything you want to share? Any comments you want to make towards the situation and how Brittany and Sam just expressed how they felt?
I was gonna piggyback off. She had brought up, having people who didn't look like them, or people who don't have the same lifestyle as you around your children and stuff. And I guess that piggybacks off of when I said I never saw it growing up because we grew up military and always traveling, and so we always went to school with all kind of people, Hispanics, Germans, blacks, whites, all kinds. So I didn't see it until I came to Alabama, and I've had quite a few experiences with racism up here. But yeah, we just grew up with everybody around us. So but as far as like children don't see color, I kind of disagree. Well, I will say I disagree because I know my daughter. She's 5. She just turned 5 2 weeks ago, and she will quickly. And I used to, like, if I was white, I would probably turn red in the face. But she'll be in the store and she'll be like, "Mommy, who's that lady over there? That white lady right there?" And she'll just say it. But that's just how children see things. And I remember when Tia was 2, and she would look at me, her dad, and herself, and she'd be like, "I'm white. Daddy is black and you're brown, Mimi." And so like that's what she saw. So they see it. It's just not. I do agree that racism is taught, but I do know that children do see color. And like we have a neighbor. My child, she loves our neighbor. Again, we're the only African American family in our neighborhood, so they see it, but I don't think it bothers them
Yeah, there's not an
necessarily.
attach. It's like there's not
But
an
also,
attachment with it. Yeah.
You saying?
and like we had
I
kind of like you said, Orionna, we had an older neighbor, and she still like she calls our children. She thinks our children are her children. She's like in her 80s. We call her Mimi, but yeah, she treats our children just like they're hers. My children are for the most part of, especially Azaria's, like she's been at daycares where she's like the only African American. So we don't have a problem at all. She sees the difference, but it doesn't affect her negatively. It doesn't affect her at all. She just sees him as another friend. So.
get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Kris, you got anything you want to share?
I mean, yeah. I kind of agree with everybody. I mean, I can agree with Shaniqua. I mean, kids see color, but they don't have like they don't see it as a difference. They still see they might say, "Hey, he's white, but he's still my friend." You know,
Mm-hmm.
they don't see it as different. So the thing about it, like I said, the hatred is taught. But we all know that we're different. But yeah, you gotta teach racism. Like I said, I have mixed relatives. I have like about 7 cousins who all are mixed, and like I said, when they see me, they just see their cousin. Even though I remember one time my cousin KK, and she like I said, she's mixed, but she looks white. She looks like a white girl. And one time we was in Florida, and it was me and her, and we were just in the store together, and we were just walking around, and I was just hugging her and messing with her and stuff, and this older white lady was looking, and she was looking at us weird, and then my cousin looked at her and said, "He's my cousin. Why are you looking at us like this?" And it's just stuff like that. But like I said, she's white, but she's my family, and I'm gonna always see family. And I feel like we can all attest that, like Darion said, the environment you grow up in. A lot of people. Shaniqua grew up around a lot of different people by being a military brat. So like you said, you never really just experienced racism. Whereas me and Darion, we grew up, in like the hood of Brookhaven. So we've experienced it. I can't speak for Darion, but I've experienced it, at a young age. So, but yet and still I didn't grow up hating, white people. I just know that some people, just call it what it is. Some people are ignorant and some people aren't.
Do you have a business or service you need more eyes to see? Well, Story Studios has you covered. We now offer audio, video, and picture promotional slots that can be played during any show on our platform. Email storystudios@gmail.com or comment your email address below. That's story with an I, studios with an S @gmail.com. We can't wait to help you grow your business. All right, y'all. So we're back. Kris, you just made a powerful statement. So I kind of want you to finish that thought, and then I'm gonna open the floor up to everybody, just sharing how they feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of come from a place where not too many people can come from, because like I said, like not only do I have mixed relatives, but I've been a police officer, and like I said, I've been, I've had run-ins with the law, and so I try my best to always try to spread knowledge. I mean, these last couple of years, I've really been diving deeper into trying to educate people more when it comes to everything that's going on with police brutality. People have to understand, like Darion really spoke volumes when he was talking about it. I mean, this comes from years ago, and we're still living off a system that was created in like the 40s when it comes to this justice system. I mean, if y'all read some of these laws, you would be like, that is crazy. I mean, you can actually go to jail longer for stealing money than actually killing a person, which is the craziest thing I ever seen. So my whole premise on this whole police brutality thing, if we don't start changing it from the inside, then we're never going to see change, because we have to encourage more African Americans to, become police officers, to become judges, to become lawyers, to become, DAs and stuff like that, because I just have to be blunt and have to just be real about it. Where a lot of Black people are so busy trying to make white people care and understand where we're coming from. And I know we have people like, like Brittany and Sam, who are, you show empathy and you do care and you're friends, but everybody's not like that. And we're not gonna make everybody become, sympathetic for us. So I feel like you have to change it from the inside for the judicial system, because one of the main things everybody's always harping on, the president and stuff like that, and wanting the president to do this and stuff like that. No, as somebody who's been behind a badge, I know better. We have to start changing these laws from the inside if we really want to start seeing change. We have to have more people in higher positions to get change. And if we don't do that, we won't see change. We're only going to continue to see the same old cycle go over and over.
Right, man. If you don't mind, I'll just piggyback off you was just talking about change, right? And we need change. We need change on that level also, but I feel like the change has to start in your daily routine first. In those details of your life. Being a better father, a better friend, just working on yourself, a better communicator, right?
Oh yeah.
I think a better neighbor, like just learning how to love yourself and have love for your family, because sometimes that is the agent for the change. You might have helped the person up that will be the person that really makes strides on another level, but I don't want people to get too caught up in the glitz and the glamour of trying to be the one to be, to be the one that sometimes you are just the one to inspire the one to do the changing.
Yeah.
And I think that just starts on the ground level, and just having empathy for each other, man, and really listening to what the people that are feeling oppressed, just really listening to what they're saying. I feel like if you understand or try to walk in their shoes somewhat, it'll do a lot, you know. And as for Black people, I know the distrust has always been a thing. Like growing up, the distrust was bad. It's Kris can speak to it. Like he said, we don't mess with police. We don't. No one tells. You know, that is what you're taught.
Yep.
You know, you're taught that little. So, like he said, when he became a policeman, it was almost like a sin. Like, hey man, what you doing? Like, we don't do that. But we have to begin getting over those. I don't want to say stereotypes. I don't think it's stereotypes, but we have to get over that stigma and just begin to like. But it's gonna have to come from both. I guess that's why this movement is happening right now, because we're gonna have to reach and extend our hand to shake each other's hands. We're both gonna have to do some kind of work here, you know. But I feel like they have to show us something, and we have to show them something. So I could go in. I feel like I want to go in deeper a lot, but I know we have a time limit, and I'm trying to make sure I keep it light. You know, I want to chastise both sides, and I want to pick up both sides, but we don't have enough time for it right now. We got so many different views that we need to get to. So, but that's just the basic premises. It's the empathy, you know, it's the love that we're supposed to have for each other that's really needed right now. And I understand there's so many layers of hate, so many layers of distrust and confusion and oppression. And, you know, we have to peel back those layers one by one. So, and it's going to take a while, and it's going to be very uncomfortable. But that's how you grow. That's how you grow. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think we can actually do something so our kids they don't have to go through the same things that we are going through, right? So, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's one of my main prayers, Darion, that we can do something today that can be good for our children in the future. Like, they don't have to go through the same things that we're going through. That's one of my biggest prayers, that we can continue to love each other and grow together and things of that nature. Sam and Brittany, do y'all have anything y'all want to share based on like Kris and Darion going in on how it feels to be a Black man?
I mean, kind of, you know, getting toward the, you know, further toward the end of this conversation. I mean, you know, I think the biggest thing we would want to know is, as people that are white, I mean, you know, I feel like the most important question we could ask in the conversation, and Darion, you just alluded to a lot of it, is, you know, what can we do? Like, from our vantage point, how can we bridge the gap? You know, and I feel like if that question's not asked in this conversation, then why am I having it? You know what I mean? Like, why would we have it? So that's kind of, we were talking.
What advice do y'all have for?
What's the input you guys have? I mean,
for white people right now, what would y'all say would be the best way for us to bridge the gap through this time?
Hey, that's so funny that y'all say that. I promise you, my phone has been blowing up. I have a lot of white friends. I play football. I'm neighbors. We are in a predominantly white neighborhood. My phone has been blowing up, and that's the question that I've been asked.
I like that everybody's hard.
Huh? Oh. That's the question I've been asked at least 20 times, you know. So I wonder if hey babe, do you think you have any advice?
Shaniqua, so I felt led to put the camera on you, and that's why I asked you to unmute. I just felt like you should start off the answer to that. I don't know, I just felt led to come to you.
Is she driving through a bad area?
She might be.
There she is.
Yeah.
I can see her, and I can see her smiling. I feel like she hear us.
Yeah.
She may be saying something.
Mine was just communication. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying mine would be communication. I like that everybody's harped on that. And I do love how Sam and Brittany talked about being like Christ. I like that example, and just using, I guess, like you guys said, as white people, y'all have that privilege, and just starting that topic of conversation. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have with others that you guys know, because I mean, a lot of people don't like to talk about race, but it's a necessary conversation. And so I think that's the main thing, is having the conversation, just starting it, or yeah, that's
Something as simple as just being open, right? I mean, just
being open about it.
yeah.
And just even something simple as saying, I don't think this is right. Because a lot of people, like they were saying earlier, will excuse, like making excuses of why they'll continue, or why they see the wrong, or they'll only speak about, like, I know I've had a run-in with a neighbor, because a lot of people have only talked about the looting and the damage that's being done to properties, and not, the damage that's being done to lives that can't be returned, they can't come back. So I think that's a big one. That's what me and the neighbor actually really got into heated discussion about. It's like, you always want to talk about the property and the materialistic things, that there's insurance to cover and bring it back. But there are lives that these families cannot have back. It's a lot of injustice. So I think that's the biggest thing, like just having that conversation and seeing the wrong, like, and not making excuses again, like just seeing like wrong is wrong, right is right, no color or not, like just put yourself, I know you can't put yourselves in our shoes necessarily, but just think like, okay, if you were, I don't know, with all this going on, like, just think like, if your husband was to leave out the door, would you be afraid that he's gonna come back home? Or I know somebody wrote on Facebook one time, their dad didn't answer their phone call, and so until their dad came in the house, they kind of were just sitting there holding their breath, because they weren't sure if their dad was gonna be a hashtag. So it's like, you never know. Or just thinking like, just having the conversation with your children as well, because I know that's been tough. Like, we took our children with us to the protests, and so we actually sat down and talked to them. And I know Tia, our oldest, she was like, oh yeah, racism, that's what they used to do in the old days. And I'm like, no, sweetheart, that's what's going on right now. So I think just having that conversation is major.
Right.
Yeah, the run-in she had with the neighbor was kind of out of left field, and pretty crazy, because our daughter frequently plays with her kids, and it's she was afraid to have the conversation back. She was afraid to listen. She wanted to be in her bubble. It was like, hey, it's this way, and then we're gonna cut it out. So I think one of the best things that you guys can do, you can reach deeper places, like I can reach deeper places, like Kris can reach deeper places in the Black community. You guys can reach places in the white community that that's probably pretty tainted, and I think people are going to be willing to be more honest and open with how they feel around you guys as white people, just like how Black people are with us. So I think you guys can since you have the perspective, and you guys are open, some people aren't like that, but you guys may be the bridge to enlightenment for them, and just like me and Kris would have to be with some people, you guys, as soon as they see you guys, they're going to be like, but we have to be the bridge to help that. And I'm working with my neighbors now. I realize that just being around, mostly the white people have skills that as Black people, as economically, that I'm growing up, I'm like, I started realizing they are building stairs, they're building and just creating things everywhere. I'm like, man, I grew up in a single parent household, in the hood, and I didn't know what a flathead screwdriver was. I started thinking about it, like, when did I get a lawnmower and mow the lawn? I'm like, I didn't have to. It's a lot of skills. It's a ton of guys that I know that were the same way, and it just started hitting me, man. Like, I knew about selling weed before I knew about being an electrician. Just stuff like that. So I'm working with him now. I'm gonna try to find a way to try to get people to know about trades. You know, being a plumber, electrician, a HVAC mechanic, and stuff like that. Just using your skills and the knowledge that you have. If you can find a way to go into those crevices, you know, of the world, to where people don't really have those skills, that can, even if it's 1 out of 30, that person that you reach can change so much around them. You change their lives. So I think that's where I'm headed. So I think it's two things that you guys can do that can change so much around you, by just moving through other people. And it's like the grassroots effort in the beginning that you talked about. And
Right.
I think for me, that's what I would say.
That was good. That was a good point.
Yeah, that's actually something we talked about earlier. You know, but yeah, I mean, I love the word grassroots. That's like with the conversation we're having right now. To me, that's what that means. You know, that's my version of that. As far as how I view that word and its definition, and I don't know. I think so much. It's not the only way progress gets done on both sides, but I feel like it's the main catalyst to me. You know, and it's hard to distort. You know, trying to bridge this gap when you're dealing on these types of levels, these grassroots levels, you know. But I really appreciate that input, just because, I mean, that's a real question we have. You know, I mean, so, and I feel like that's a question that should be asked in every one of these conversations, you know.
Got you. Babe, do you have any advice for Brittany and Sam?
I mean, I can kind of piggyback off both sides. We have to, as humans, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of great things come from pain. You know, just like diamonds are made by pressure. You get your breakfast by cracking an egg. You know, not just laying it. You have to break
Right.
it in order to get the protein, to get the nutrients out of it. So, in order to find a breakthrough, we have to be willing to run through that wall together, regardless of the outcome. And I feel like that's one of the main things that happens in this world. It could be, you know, mainly on the white side. A lot of whites could be afraid of the outcome of supporting African Americans. You know, if I support African Americans, how will my white, predecessors view me now? And, you know, it's vice versa on the same side. Like Pee Wee said, that's if y'all came to talk to a group of young black kids, they'll just, sit there and look at y'all like, what are they talking about? They don't know what it feels like to grow up, where we grew up, and vice versa. We took, if me and Pee Wee came and talked to a group of, white kids, they'd be like, y'all didn't grow up where we grew up, So, like I said, we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I love, and my wife will attest to it, I love confrontation, because I feel like that is the best way to grow in this world, is to argue.
That is Sam Songs made over.
You got that.
Wears me out with his confrontation.
She hates confrontation.
Trying to reel him in.
I think that's why we got married. Brittany hates it. I don't know about you, Ori, but like
I
love
hate
it. And Brittany hates it.
Ori hates it too.
Yeah, I hate it for sure.
Yeah,
like
and that's
you'll learn a lot, and you'll learn everything you need to know about that person through an argument.
Right.
And it don't necessarily have to
solved.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of healthy progress in a lot of different areas has been made through healthy arguments.
Yeah.
And it's not that arguing is good, but I think that there's a form of confrontation that is necessary. And every time I get in trouble with my wife, I remind her of that. But although usually a lot of times the confrontation is not good. But no, I agree with you. And that's part of what makes seeing a lot of the things you see on the surface right now on both sides, on social media and other places, like, it's just, if there could just be some individual confrontation with this, instead of, you feel like, dang, we could bridge the gap so much easier, but I completely agree.
And we also have to we also have to understand that we can respectively disagree with each other.
Right.
As people are just so easily offended when it comes to racial issues. I think if people could be more unoffendable when they have discussions. I feel like sometimes people will go into a discussion with the right motives, but then they're so easily offended when it comes to topics like race that sometimes things get worse instead of better.
Yeah, and a common viewpoint you see from the white side is, frustration with why can't I be in each camp? Why can't I be totally against, as any black person would, what happened to George Floyd, but totally support law enforcement that are good cops, knowing that there's bad apples also, and not be someone who considers yourself racist? So there's a lot of depths to that, and I think there are a lot of past and systemic, you could say, things that I think that we should all deal with on the white side for sure. But just on the surface, you get that reaction a lot from the white camp. You get, frustration that if you open your mouth, there's this silence. We kind of live in this silence culture, and it comes from every side, by the way, on different categories. But in this issue, there's a lot of silencing on both sides if you disagree, or if you because a lot of those conversations, like you were saying, Kris, if you have the confrontation and you hang in there, you'll actually find a point. I think a lot of people would find a point in which they have a lot that they agree on, or a lot that they could build off of, at least. And they don't ever get to that point, just because there's one or the other ends up trying to silence the other and the conversation ends. But that's something I meant to share earlier, just sharing different viewpoints. That's something you see on the white side a lot. And I'm talking about from people who I don't consider to be racist. I think there are a lot of racial issues, but amongst those people is what I'm talking about. Like, what you commonly hear is like, hey, I can support law enforcement because the overall vast majority are good. I can hate what happened and want complete justice for the Floyd situation, and I cannot be racist all at the same time, like in the same camp. And there's a lot of people out there that feel like they can't. They can't voice that. So, but there's so many depths under that. I mean, that's a knee-jerk response that I meant to share right when we started talking today. You hear from a lot of people.
Yeah, I think George Floyd is probably just it was just the last. It's right. A lot that's happened, so it was just the trigger, and bam. Now I feel like frustration is what's going on. A lot of years of frustration are finally starting to come out, and also I think on the silencing issues, sometimes you're just gonna have people that's super ignorant on each side, and they're not looking to get to a solution.
Yeah, that's what Kris said.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Ignorant.
Right. So
right.
Nobody is trying to find an answer in that. So there's not going to be an answer to find there. So sometimes we have to have a good filter. I know we talked a lot about social media, but if you don't have your filter on, I hate to say it, but I know I'll be with my wife. I talk to her a lot of times. I'll be like, nah, that person, they went to YouTube and watched 2 conspiracy theory videos, and now all of a sudden they're an expert on everything. Right. Like, no, I know who you are. Like, but the thing is, people are charismatic, and they can get followers, and they can build on somebody's anger, or they can build on somebody's ignorance. Yeah. And they can do that. But hopefully, I have faith that the cooler heads, the more intellectual heads can break through the ignorance. Hitler was able to, hijack a whole country off of their ignorance and off of his charisma, basically. So a lot can go wrong with that. And that's why I feel like we're at a dangerous place, a critical place right now, because it's a lot up in the air right now, and it can go left. And years from now, it could be very bad if we don't act right now, and if we don't do all we can to face this thing head on. So, confrontation is good. Solutions can come from that, but we have to be looking for those solutions and those compromises and that understanding in the first place.
Yeah, it has to be conversation with somebody who's willing to listen, because there's people who listen to understand, and then there's people who listen to respond.
Mm.
And a lot of social media is people listening to respond. And half the people who are angry are like 24 and younger. Like they don't even know no better. Like it's
That's
like
like
what you said.
true.
They're just going on YouTube, reading stuff, and then going from there.
Like that's really so true. Like both of y'all made that point, but it is so true that people see a video or, they hear something that their uncle said or something that a buddy agrees with, and they become an expert immediately, and both on both sides. I mean, and that's what makes social media so dangerous and potentially makes this situation so explosive to where change can't happen. And these conversations can't be held. Like you don't ever get the chance to have them. But y'all both kind of made that point in jest. But I mean, I agree completely. Like, I think Darion said there's a lot of experts, a lot of self-proclaimed experts on the subject. And I tell you, man, we keep going back to social media, but it's a dangerous place. I liked your point, Kris, about what you said about, a lot of people listen to respond. They're not listening to listen. And that's not a way that I've ever heard that, been put, but I think that that's a really good point. And I've been guilty of in the past in different areas, too. So I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, we married, so we all guilty of that.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to say that topic about confrontation may be good for like a marriage, because I heard Shaniqua, I heard her say that she doesn't like it, but I'll be dang if I've been confronted a couple times. I'm like, oh man. So yeah.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but I don't ever have any negative confrontations with my wife. So I mean, I don't know what y'all are talking about personally.
You get those points. Hey,
Great answer. Great
Is a
answer.
lie.
Like Family Feud. Good answer.
Good answer. Well, I know we made a lot of comments about social media, but I really feel like that's why God put it in my heart to do this, because I'm an influencer. Like people are watching content that I'm posting, listening to what I have to say and things of that nature. And I want to kind of, all right, since all this is going on, let me share how I feel. Let me get some people that I have high respect for on both ends together to have a conversation and put that out there too. So I pray that it is seen as I want to use social media as a positive thing, and putting this out there, I feel like can be one of the first steps to change. So if you're watching this episode, y'all, I don't want this just to go from you just watching this on your phone or your laptop or however you're watching it. I want you to have that conversation with your neighbor. I want you to have that conversation with people who don't look like you. Have that conversation within your family to your children, because it needs to be had. We have to be the change that we want to see. So I really do commend all of y'all, all four of the guests, and even my husband for agreeing to co-host this with me. I commend y'all for doing this, because for me, it's a step in the right direction. For me, you never know how many people are gonna watch this and say, you know what? If they can do it, we can too. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna call this part I'm gonna call this part last thoughts before we finish. So if anyone has any last thoughts they want to share before we end, I want this to be kind of like your final thought on the situation. Last thoughts?
Babe, you have any last thoughts? I guess not. She may be going through another bad spot. But I know for me, one thing I know, one problem that I know I've been running into on this conversation is people are they get very offended when it comes to like shattering their image of what the USA is. A lot of times you have to tear down that image those things that you've been taught, is so much pride, there's so much things built on top of that. We have to learn to kind of destroy that image and get a real image of what the U.S. has been for a lot of people that's different. And a lot, and that's very hurtful for a lot of people to do, because you stand, you put your your hand over your heart, and it's so much respect, and but for a lot of people, that's not what it is. It's been a lot of oppression. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of trauma for a lot of people. So I don't want people to get offended by that. I want people to understand that it's been bad.
That's the truth for them.
Right. That's been their reality. That's been their version of the U.S. The thing that you have so much pride. I saw somebody talk about it. It's like, if you have a dad, right, and a dad that has children by he has multiple children, but if this dad was horrible to this kid, but this dad was the best dad in the world to this kid in a different household, it's hard to hear from for a kid that looks up to his dad for so long, to hear those awful things that he did to the other kid. It's hard to shatter that image sometimes, but that's a visual of what the U.S. is for a lot of people of color that I know personally. And so, that'll be my final thought.
Okay. Final thoughts for I know Shaniqua isn't on the songs. Do y'all have any final thoughts on anything?
Yeah. I really like the point you just had, Darion. Like that's not a way that it's another reason I'm glad we're having this conversation, because that's actually a really good way to look at it, especially for us. I mean, I think that's a very wise kind of metaphor for the situation. I guess just going back to the start, I feel like the first thing we need to do, in our shoes, is have empathy and, just make sure that we're listening, and that there's different perspectives all the way around here, not just one. Kind of like you were saying about your view of America, there's different perspectives all the way around. And, most importantly, kind of like Brittany was saying earlier, just always try our very best to go back to the way that Jesus would have done things, because, I mean, when it comes to that, going back to those examples, of Samaritans or in different situations, I mean, you look at how he handled it. Look at how he handled, what then society viewed as different classes of people and things like that, and just sticking to his example. And to me, sometimes in life, the most simple ways are the best ways to solve things. And I think here, that's so true. It's this conversation on a grassroots level, So what you got, baby?
I agree. And just trying to put yourself in other people's shoes, because everybody's life experiences are different, and everybody's opinions come from their life experiences. And just because, like, you have this way that you view something and somebody else has a different way they view something, it usually comes down to their upbringing and, what's happened in their life. And so try to just put yourself in other people's shoes and how they grew up to help understand everybody's angle to help bridge the gap.
Yep.
Right.
Gotcha. Babe, you got any final thoughts?
My only final thought is for this not to be, I don't want things to always just be a trend. I want people to talk about this always, 24/7, 365. Let's not wait until another guy gets killed on Facebook Live to have these conversations. We should be fighting for this every single day. God teaches us to pray and prepare for future storms. So we should be doing that in this world too. We should always be preparing for stuff. If we want to see stuff, if we want to see this change, we have to start today. We can't wait till the next incident. No, we have to do it today. So I want to see all this to stop being trends on social media. I'm tired of hashtags. I want to see stuff being put into place and being put into work every single day.
All right.
Points.
Well, I'm pretty sure I can tell that with us being married, you know, we married like-minded individuals. So even though Shaniqua, I think she's driving, she just had a bad connection. Even though she didn't get a chance to share her final thought, I kind of got a sense of what she would say, and Darion, I think you would too. Again, my final thought would be kind of piggybacking on my husband, like, let's keep this going. This show, We All Bleed, will probably feature different people from different backgrounds once a month. I want to continue to have different conversations that may not be the most comfortable thing to have, but I want to talk to these different people. I want to hear how they feel about different things. And I feel like that's following Jesus' example. That's literally going the road less traveled and talking to these people with different views, that came from different backgrounds and things of that nature. And as a journalist, as a storyteller, as a speaker, that's what I want to do with my platform to initiate the change. So I pray that with what I do and what I put out, it happens. So that's my final thought. Thank y'all so much. I'm so blessed to have y'all on this platform. Like I said, I have so much respect for all of y'all. And yeah, I'm just thankful. I really feel like this shouldn't be the last time we reconvene to have a conversation. I feel like we should come back together soon and have another conversation in the future about what we did do since this conversation. So look forward to me reaching out to you again to see if you're interested. And let's keep it moving, y'all. Let's not be stagnant in what's going on in today's world. Y'all, this has been We All Bleed, and we will be back for another episode next month. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye. Thank y'all.
See y'all later.
Bye.